Hello and welcome to a Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm James, the host tonight, and joining me we've got Judd. Judd, how you doing?
Good evening.
Good. And we've also got Clive. Clive, how are you?
Hey, not too bad. Looking forward to it.
Good. I heard you said on the old Twitter you've lost your voice a bit, so I won't be too hard on you with some of the questions and everything. I'll give you some pauses and some breaks.
No, you won't shut me up.
That's good to hear. So, guys, today North London derby. Before the game, I know, Judd, obviously in America you don't get like we have with Sky. Henri's playing it up. Everybody's playing it up. Some great video packages, and I'm like, this is going to be a great game. We're going to stuff them. This is going to be fantastic. I'm well up for this. And it didn't really all go that way. So let's just say initial feelings before the game with the lineup. I myself picked the lineup for the podcast, which I do most weeks for most games when I can. And I had Gabriel in there. Didn't think Koscielny would be past fit. He was. And the rest of the lineup I got pretty much spot on. So what about yourself, guys? Was that the lineup you would have predicted, or did you think there's some tweaks and changes?
Yeah, for the most part, I thought I expected Debuchy to be playing. I wasn't sure about Cause, but I think I heard either early in the morning or yesterday afternoon that he was going to be game time decision, probably going to go. So yeah, I mean there wasn't really any big surprises, but it turns out after the match we find out that Santi had come down with an illness and was only 30% to go at the start, and it kind of makes you wonder why he was still selected then. But yeah, other than that, I mean there weren't any real surprises. I mean it kind of picks itself with the fitness issues we have right now. What about you, Clive?
Yeah, for me, I was actually a bit disappointed in the team we selected. We haven't got many options, but if you look at Spurs, you just look at them and say, okay, what have they got? So Spurs are the youngest team in the Premiership, and they cover more meters than anybody else. So you have a choice. We've obviously lost our pace. Walcott, Welbeck, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Bellerin. That's 4 very fast players, right? They're what I call our athletes. So we've lost them all. So what are we going to do? And if you add Ramsey in there as well, who's a marathon runner, you're talking about transitions, you're talking about sprints, you're talking about athletes. So we've lost them. So the big thing for me was we couldn't pick Mertesacker, and we did. And that disappointed me. And so I would have gone Gabriel for sure. I would have played him. And I'll go into it a bit later on. I thought it was a major miss, and it cost us today. Didn't know about Santi, Judd, before the game when I was in the pub, and I didn't hear that detail, right? So
yeah, it really didn't come out until after the match, though, either.
Yeah, but it was obvious that he was treading through quicksand on against Bayern Munich, and you just hoped he would recover. And from the first half, you watch that game, and he just hit a wall. He's like a marathon runner on 22 miles. He hit a wall, and Spurs just ran past him, and it was massively obvious. So yeah, the team, it picked itself really, but I thought we had an opportunity to pick something else, and we didn't take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Coming on to Cazorla, I heard obviously after the game, Wenger was saying he was dizzy and he was just a bit tired and fatigued, but then Arsblog come out and said that apparently he had been ill and that he actually threw up at half time, and that's why the substitution was made. But still going back onto the first half, we were under the cosh a bit, weren't we, boys? And it's weird saying that against the Spurs side. I mean, under Pochettino, they've only lost that one game, which was the opening game of the season. And I've been watching North London derbies. I'm only 24 years old, so I'm younger than you guys, but I've been watching them nearly all my life. And this is the best they've looked at, Arsenal anyway, that I think for many a year they look organised. They look, they're all big, physical guys, even the younger ones, even Dele Alli. He's not like physically big, but he gets himself stuck in. And I was very surprised. And they literally, even though Cazorla was ill as well, they shut him out of the game completely, done an absolute number on him. It reminded me a bit of the Arsenal City game last year when we done a number on David Silva, didn't let him through at all. It just seemed they just shut Cazorla down straight away. So what did you guys make of that?
Yeah, they did. I mean, they kind of neutralized him the entire first half, and illness or not, you'd expect Santi's class to show through, but getting caught in possession, I don't know how many times. His passing was off, and Yeah, I mean, they did a good job closing them down. I think that really was one of the primary reasons that we got off to such a slow start in the first half. I mean, we still had, a couple decent opportunities, and the game was really open there for the first, 25, 30 minutes. But, you kind of expected a goal to come, for one side or the other, the way that it was going back and forth end to end the whole time. But you were hoping, I was hoping it would be on our, in our favor. But, yeah, they did a good job, and it's a tough Tottenham squad. They've had some pretty good ones before, but it's nothing that even with the squad we put out today, that we shouldn't be able to handle. I thought on the balance of the day, it was probably a fair result, but I think we had more opportunities. They forced a couple good saves out of check, and then when we had some pretty good looks on the corner kick that Giroud headed wide, and then the other one where he had the volley that just went over. Those were both great opportunities that we just failed to put on target. And then I think there were a couple other ones that we put just wide. But all in all, I hate to say it, Spurs played well, probably the deserved result in the end, but it could have very easily gone in our favor as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Clive, what about yourself?
Well, first things first, let me sort of premise everything I'm going to say today by saying, everybody, I am absolutely buzzing with that point, right? Because we were there for the taking. The Spurs are playing the European Cup final tomorrow morning. That's the team they would have picked. They had everybody fit and available and only lost one since the start of the season, right? So they're on the quest of a wave. We have had 9 first-team players that are injured. We got Koscielny on a fitness test, and we've gone out there and we've found a way to get points. So let me just say that from the start, right? So I thought as the game went on, I said it before the game, I really wanted Arsenal to make the pitch small. By that I mean, number one thing is we had to play Gabriel. And what Gabriel does, he allows us to press up the pitch. So once you press up the pitch, it does 2 things. It keeps Harry Kane away from our goal, right? Because he can't run long distances. He will not be able to outrun our centre backs. So he keeps him away from our goal. And what it also does, it gets Giroud closer to their goal. And what we discovered, and I didn't know this beforehand, is that Tottenham are incredibly weak in the air on crosses, right? So if we'd have got Giroud nearer their goal, we'd have been far more effective. So that was a major selection issue for me. There's nothing that Mertesacker did against Bayern Munich to say he should have played today. If we'd have played Gabriel, I really predict we would have found it a lot easier than we actually did, because it would allow a different pattern of game. So I was really disappointed. So what do? We went into what I call a basketball game. As Paul Merson would say, right? You have a shot, we have a shot, right? That is exactly what we don't want to do. We're playing Spurs, right? The best track meet runners in the whole league. They run up and down that pitch. And what have we done? We've made the pitch big. Mertesacker's dropped away because he feels a little bit lacking of confidence. He's stepping up when he shouldn't be stepping up. Koscielny's stepping up when he shouldn't be stepping up. And we played right into their hands. And I was really disappointed in us tactically today, that we didn't make this game easier for ourselves. We didn't recognise the team we were playing against, and we didn't adjust early enough in the game to absolutely press them back into their half. So we tried what I call it a Man United first 15 minutes. We tried that. We tried to blast them. We tried to go high touch, high pace, high intensity, touch, get shots off. But you know what? Spurs tried exactly the same. So it's like 2 boxers try to chin each other in the first 15 minutes, and they went, okay, we'll have you as well. We're going to run with you. We're going to go counter-attack. We're going to go counter-press. I thought we were a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more compact, a little bit more technical, but Spurs picked up pieces and they made us run back towards our goal. And that's when it started to break, because as soon as you saw Santi running back towards his own goal, you thought to yourself, hold on, we're passing through them, but they're running past us, right? And that was a big wake-up call. As soon as that happened, when Mertesacker sees people running past his centre mids, what does he do? He drops away. And that's when you need to engage. You need to be brave, you need to engage, you need to start getting on the front foot. But he dropped away, and the bigger the pitch got, the better Spurs got. And I was a bit disappointed in how we managed that moment. But Spurs got their goal. They deserved their goal, right? Because we had 15 minutes and they had 30 minutes in that first half. They deserved their goal, and we had to adjust at half time. And I'll tell you what, I wish I could have recorded that half time team talk. I bet it was really interesting.
Yeah, speaking of which, just before half time, obviously Danny Rose, who I thought had an absolutely shocking game. I've never rated him. He scored a wonder goal against Spurs and they make him out to be Roberto Carlos. But he threads this ball through, and Mertesacker, he got a lot of slating on my timeline when, to be fair, it was mainly Koscielny, but I can see why people slate Mertesacker as well. He's gone with Ericsson. The balls fell to the feet of Harry Kane, who, give him an inch and he'll take a mile. He's going to score that every day in his sleep. And Petr Cech can't do nothing about it. And we go 1-0 down. What did you guys make of the goal? Did you see it coming, really? I thought we were sustaining for quite long, but I knew something was going to turn. What do you feel, Judd?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, you kind of had that feeling that it was coming eventually, and you can try to point fingers at one individual on that goal, but it's really a whole team breakdown. The whole defense is shifted out of sorts, and and it was a great ball, and Koscielny took the chance trying to step up, play him off. Was that half second late? Unfortunate call by the linesman to get it right. But in the end, it was well taken. Cech was pretty much left hung out to dry, and still almost got an ankle to it there as it just was hit into the ground and just kind of bounced over Cech's leg. But you could see it coming for a while, and we were just kind of riding our luck there for the first 20 minutes or whatever it was before that. But I thought that the second half we played a lot better. We came out, I think it was like the first 5 minutes, I think they hardly even had the ball. We played pretty well. Then they had a couple more good counterattacks, but the real telling sign was at the end, we're still going after it. And I know part of it's they're playing on the road, but Spurs, they're wasting time sitting back. I'm surprised they didn't just run the ball into the corner flag and sit on it. But I kind of forget where I was going with that, but that's my take on the whole the situation and the way we recover. I thought if we had another 5-10 minutes, who knows what could have happened.
Well, I was going to say, Flamini come on, and obviously the intensity got a bit up there. A few challenges flew in and everything else, and I agree with you. But going on to more in the second half, they had a few chances, and then I thought weird substitution to make because I thought he was playing well, Joel Campbell. What I've seen of him against Swansea, he took his goal really well and he worked hard against Bayern Munich. From the highlights that I saw, I wasn't able to watch the full game. Unfortunately, I was working, but he seemed a bit lost out there. He really looked lost. But today, I thought he played fantastically. He was trying things. He was running, and his work rate's quite admirable. I feel. What do you make of Joel Campbell today, Clive?
Yeah, I don't mind him at all. Right, I think he's a really good work ethic on the ball. He's very neat. He's very tidy. He gets his body shape correct when he receives the ball. He can receive it back foot. He can drive off when he faces the game inside. His passing distribution is really, really good. He lacks a bit of confidence on the shot. He's had a few shots against Swansea. I thought some of his passes were really, really good. But Joel Campbell gave everything he's got. He hasn't played for ages, and suddenly he's had 3 huge games in 8 days. I thought he was running through quicksand against Bayern Munich. He had to come off early, but he found some legs today. And it's a huge. We've got a huge 2 weeks coming up. It's almost as though Wenger needs to do a Fergie, right, and say, you lot are just not playing for your countries, because we've got there's a real issue with our fatigue at present, right? So we've got names on the team sheet, but they're shells. There's shells in the body. Alexis is a shell, right? He's on the sheet, but he's a shell. Right?
I don't know why he didn't take him off. He looked absolutely bollocked today. He looked so knackered.
What's he going to do? He's going to put Iwobi on. He's not ready for this. He's not ready for this, right? He can't take him off, right? And he's given it his absolute all, right? So when he's scoring against Brazil in the World Cup qualifier, this is the sort of the downside, that basically we can't get it out of him. We can't get any more out of him. So it's an issue. So Joel Campbell, well played, son. You done well. But I got to go back to the goal, by the way. And
Yep.
I'm not saying nothing that the guys listening and you guys haven't seen. It's a basic coaching thing, right? When there's no pressure on the ball, as a centre back, what you do is you drop, and basically there's no pressure on the ball. Danny Rose has just clipped it down the line. Mertesacker's got attracted with Ericsson. Where's he going, by the way? But what he's doing is what Mertesacker does. Sometimes he does. Look, I love him, right? He's an Arsenal player, but sometimes he does what I call cowardly centre-half play. He gets attracted because he doesn't want to run back to his goal, and he just walks in. If he just holds his hole, he cuts it out. Let Ericsson have it in space inside there, and trust your midfielders to come around and cover him. But he walks in. So either you go in super tight and you start smashing people, or you don't bother. Don't just walk in 3 yards and do nothing. So they've curled it round him. Koscielny, because he's been under stress, what Koscielny's done, he's under stress, he hasn't trained, and he's got attracted to it. And he thought, okay, I'm now going to gamble. I'm going to gamble on offside. And for me, it's reward for Spurs' effort, for their front foot play, for their physicality, and they've made Koscielny make a bad decision. And Kane has gone in, and let me tell you, I am not a Harry Kane fan. I watch him, I look at him, I think he's slow-legged. I think if you show him left, I don't think he's got much of a left-foot shot. I think if you keep him on the halfway line, he's like a young Ricky Lambert, in my opinion, with a big shot. He takes early shots and he shoots through legs. But I have to say, that finish reminded me of a Robert Pires finish, the way he bounced it. He bounced it in the area, bounced it over the legs, and that is a top-quality finish he's done there. And the sort of thing that Cech makes a kick-away save, we all think, oh, what a great player Cech is. But he's bounced him. He's hit the ball into the ground. That is not an accident. That is quality, right?
Yeah.
So fair play to him. And Spurs have gone in and they've deserved their half-time lead, without a doubt. We've made one mistake. They've executed. And we're sitting there huff and puff. And we're in the game. We're in the game at half-time, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, carrying on the second half, I know, Judd, you spoke about it a bit earlier. We had a few chances from Giroud, and it just seemed like it wasn't just going to happen. It's one of them days for him, And like you said, from set pieces, and they're quite tall at the back. Like, that Dyer's got a good bit of height on him for Trongen and Alderweireld, the big boys. For set pieces, it just seemed like every single one. It was Koscielny, I think, headed one. Giroud headed a couple. But an unlikely hero comes on in the 74th minute for Joel Campbell, and he's playing left wing instead of left back, and he's a player who, I don't know why, I've never really seen Kieran Gibbs as a guy that can advance at Arsenal. He's always seemed to be, in my opinion, just sort of average. He's there or thereabouts. He's not gonna kick on, but he took his goal. Fair play to him. Judge, you're a keeper expert. Lloris there was a bit suspect, right?
Yeah. I don't know how much he really could have done, but he kind of just made himself big and got in the way.
Yeah, but so Gibbs pops up at a goal, and it's 1-1. So what did you make of the goal, Judd?
Yeah, getting back to the whole Gibbs thing too, before we get on to the goal, man, I was with you. I'm thinking, what are we doing? That's the kind of substitution we normally make when we're trying to shut up shop and hold on to a late lead.
It just seemed we had nothing else. I mean, like we said before the game, and Clive said about Iwobi, he's not ready. I looked at the bench and was like, if this does go tits up, where do you turn? Where do you turn? Like, Akpom, you can't. I don't know if there's a recall option on him. Sonogo, it's not even worth recalling. He's better off where he is. So
I'd rather not recall him.
Yeah, it's like, what do you do? There's no one else in the academy that's anyone's really talking about that can come through. It's just, it's needs must, isn't it?
Yeah, and talk about an unlikely result from putting Gibbs up there. I mean, he's had one league goal in his career, I think. And
I think it was his first in 3 years. Did they say today?
There we go. Yeah, exactly. It ain't today. Maybe if we can scrap something, but I never would have suspected it would come from Gibbs, except maybe if it was an early cross or something. But yeah, that was brilliant. And it was Ozil with the assist for his sixth consecutive league assist.
Record holder now.
Breaking the King himself's record. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, the goal. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where you kind of you're so close, you just hit it at the net and hope. So, but that's the kind of opportunity that he needed to have, and then it worked out. But yeah, and the assist from Ozil was brilliant. I really thought he had a spectacular game all around. And he was probably, for me, either he or Czech were my man of the match.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we can get Clive's take.
Oh man, right, let's sit down, you two, right? 'Cause
bring us back to earth.
Here it goes, right? So, first thing that concerned me was obviously Spurs got their goal, they deserved their goal, right? Then my first concern was Giroud. So Giroud got involved with Vertonghen, that little push and shove.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of so many games, right? So think back to Monaco. Remember Monaco at home? When he got involved emotionally with, was it Bendahor, what his name is? And
Abdenor, yeah.
Sorry, I never get his name right. He gets involved. Once he gets involved emotionally with people, he done it with Johnny Evans at Manchester United. He's done it a few times. He's done it in Zagreb. Once he gets involved, that's it. You're done. He ain't scoring, right? The first thing he loses is accuracy and composure in the box. So I'm massively worried now, right? Because he's now got involved. He's throwing his arms up. Come on, the Arsenal fans listening to this will know exactly what I'm talking about. Once he starts throwing his arms up and starts getting interested in the referee, he's done. Actually, I was absolutely massively encouraged by his performance, which also tells me how weak Spurs really are. Spurs had a chance to do us today, and they didn't take it. I'm telling you now, Arsenal fans are giggling into their Kronenberg tonight. Spurs had a moment. We were there to be taken, and they didn't do it, right?
No,
they didn't.
I agree. I 100% agree.
They could have easily lost it, right? So first thing first, Giroud's lost his marbles. So we all know there's a Monaco moment coming, right? So he hasn't quite executed. I thought Wenger was smart. Obviously, Cazorla decision to replace Cazorla sort of took care of itself, right? He obviously was ill. Maybe shouldn't have started. Maybe it was a Flamini day. Maybe it was a day for what I call track athletes, right? So, and Flamini, whatever you say about him, he runs about a lot. And that's all Spurs did in the first half. And we didn't respect them, and we made the pitch too big, and they enjoyed the spaces and transitioned really, really well. So second half comes, and we get some joy. And this is what I'm really pleased about today for Arsenal. We adjusted and we adapted. We found a weakness and we smelt it. We had some crosses and we were getting in. And suddenly their central defenders, the two boys from Belgium, suddenly didn't look so good now running backwards, right? And they were defending crosses. And Arsenal smelt it. They was doing set pieces, and they were there before the ball had been put down. Giroud, Koscielny, Mertesacker, they saw it, they felt it, and I was really impressed with how we adjusted and worked out where their weakness was, and then really played on it. And one of my big worries about Arsenal is how we manage moments of adversity and how we manage moments where we're just not quite at it. And we found another way, and it wasn't pretty. It wasn't nice. It wasn't triangle offense we normally play. It wasn't the Ozil, Cazorla, Sanchez triangle, Monreal coming around the other side, cutting back. This was heart, grit, crosses, free kicks, put it down, move it. I thought it was absolutely the maximum we could have got out of the game. And I was really impressed. And again, we got Ozil out wide, which he does a lot in games. If you notice now, in the last half an hour, we almost stick him on the right wing, and he's the one that goes out wide. As soon as he gets his head up and he bulges them eyes out on the diagonal to Gibbs, you felt that he was going to land on him. And Gibbs, to be fair, if you just notice the seconds before the goal, what Gibbs did is he started to win races, right? So there was a bit before the goal when he went out to left corner flag. He's come in the back post. It's gone free, and he's won the race to it. He's beaten Walker to it, and he's knocked it back, and we've recycled the ball and created a second effort. Gone out to Ozil, big diagonal back again across the box, and we scored. And that's what it was. It was a physical effort. It was a track meet. And Spurs didn't win the race, right? We did. We were the ones that were on it at the last 20. We were the ones that were not wasting time. They were the ones wasting time. And I tell you now, guys, you're a little bit gutted, but listen to me. That is a huge point.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely huge point. And I am so excited about how we got the maximum out of the game. I'm disappointed in Giroud's execution, but you know what? That can happen. I'm not disappointed in his focus like I was in Zagreb. His focus was off. His mentality was off. Today he was focused. He was working. He was trying. And he was unlucky not to score some goals. Right? But let me tell you, I'm okay. We all like to beat Spurs, right? But it's a season. When we lost those track runners, when we lost those big four players, and we got Swansea, Bayern Munich, and Spurs coming up, I would have took 4 points from 6 from Swansea away and Spurs at home, and that's exactly what we got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the injury stuff is it's just regular occurrence, isn't it? Really, I was quite, I'm not a big fan of international football. I don't think a lot of people are, but I'm glad the breaks come now. And I know a few of them aren't. Going, are they? I think some of them haven't been picked.
I think Ozil,
yeah,
James. Like the big thing is that Joachim Low, he's a smart manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he recognises that Ozil's not going to get a winter break. He knows that Germany are sorted out. So he's given Ozil the 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
Now that is smart managing. Unlike Chris Coleman, right? Let's deal with that, shall we? Rather than
yeah.
Chris Coleman's playing Andorra. Now the three worst teams in the FIFA rankings, if I think I'm correct, is Gibraltar, San Marino, and Andorra. Wales are qualified. They pick their 2 players that play Champions League football to start that game. Both of them are injured right now. Right, so Bale and Ramsey haven't played hardly since. Right, so, and Wenger has a go. He didn't really have a big go, but it's important that these managers recognise, hold on, we've got a couple of players here that are playing a different level of football midweek. There's going to be a break point, right? So we lose Ramsey, right? And Real Madrid fans are not happy with Bale. They're not happy with the fact he's prioritising Wales or seem to be prioritising Wales while he's getting paid £200,000 a week, right? So
yeah.
There's an issue there. Now, this is where the Germans are really, really clever. Ozil played 2 games in the last international where they needed to qualify. They've qualified. He played both games. And this international break, he won't play. Now, I'm not sure what's happening with Chile, but we need Alexis Sanchez to get the same break, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because he's literally out on the pitch and he's on our programs and we're looking at him, but he's not on the pitch, right? He's giving it his absolute maximum, but he's not penetrating. He's losing the ball in the dribble. He's getting dispossessed more than any of our Ramsey and Oxlade-Chamberlain would ever get dispossessed, and we'd be slaughtering them.
Mm-hmm.
He's just dying on the pitch, right? He's dying. So we need a break with him. We need a break with Koscielny. We need Coquelin. Fortunately, Coquelin and Monreal, 2 of our better players. No one else has worked out how good they are, so they're not going anywhere, which is fortunate.
Bellerin didn't get recalled as well, which helps. Yeah,
so he's not going to get called up. So this is a huge 2 weeks of what I call rehab and recovery, and we might get that little pizzazz back, that little zip back that we've missed the last week. But as I say, 4 points from 6, I'll take that all day long.
Mm-hmm. And I know you spoke earlier about man of the match, Judd. So you said either Ozil or Sheck. I personally picked Sheck myself. I know the Arsenal official Twitter had Coquelin, Sheck and Ozil to pick, and Ozil won it by a landslide, but he probably does.
Oh, did he really?
He's the big name, isn't he? So he's always probably gonna win it better.
Sheck for me, man.
Yeah, same here. I honestly today I was like, oh, that's a fantastic saying. Oh, so's that.
Yeah,
that one is as well. I'm just like,
I mean, it doesn't come as a surprise.
No.
Fans usually tend to go with the guys that are contributing more to the attack, especially in a score draw. Or shutout than perhaps, but it doesn't really come as a shock to me.
Yeah. Well, it could have been a lot worse for me. I think.
Easily.
If it wasn't him in goal, God knows what could have happened today. We could have been having a totally different podcast. I might not even be here for it. I might have jumped off the balcony. But Clive, yourself, man of the matches, if you had to pick one, who would you have gone for?
I would have probably. It doesn't really matter, right? This is like icing on the cake, right? Yeah. So I would have gone for Ozil, and only because he lost his Batman today. You know what I mean? He lost his partner in crime, right, in Cazorla. he wasn't on the pitch, and he had to take an extra responsibility to knit a pattern of play. So our three, for me, our three offensive world-class players are Ozil, Sanchez, and Cazorla.
Yeah.
And they're the one. They are the brain of the team. They're the one that dictate the style of the team. It's actually really interesting. Actually, the Sheffield Wednesday game away in the Capital One, whatever it's called, to see Arsenal play without them was really quite a bit of a shock, right? To see us play without those three incredibly intelligent technical players, and to see how we kept passing the ball at the back. And once you pass it in the midfield, we didn't have the technical ability to do anything at all. And we knocked it back. We ended up playing in the wrong areas. And then when you see Ozil, Cazorla and Sanchez play, and the way they just pass through the lines, turn the right direction, one touch, two touch. And then you think about Ozil's performance today when you think, okay, Sanchez is a shell, San is really ill, and all our offensive pattern is really massively dependent on one man. And I thought he stepped up today. I really thought he stepped up. And
he covered the most ground as well, but I know that's a sort of needless stat that gets thrown around a lot. But like you said, when Cazorla went off, he did have to step up, and he really is, seeing the fruits of his labour finally.
He did. Well, he did have his mates, right? So he didn't have to be it wasn't a combination game for him. This was about really showing control and really taking the emphasis away from them. And I thought with him and Flamini's introduction and Gibbs' freshness, we found the energy to push Spurs back and make them question their own confidence and mentality. And once Spurs started to question their mentality, how flimsy did they look? Look so flimsy, right? So I look forward to the away game. I look forward to watching what they do and how they're going to press us when we potentially could have Welbeck, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Walcott on the pitch with Bellerin as well.
Yeah.
I say, come on then, press us if you want. But once you lose it, you're really going to be running back towards your goal and you won't be able to catch us this time. You know, so I thought Spurs did really, really well. They got the maximum out of the game they should have got. They should have won the game.
Definitely.
They weren't able to win the game. But they're a coming force, and I'm going to tell you this now. They are young, they are fit. If they add some quality and dexterity and what I call technical brain to their centre midfield, because Dyer's not the answer, right? So if Dyer's not the answer and they really haven't, Lamella's not the answer either. And if they can get some real strong support, physical support to Kane, I think they've got a chance to really get into that top four position, right? So, but Arsenal have stepped away again, and we're managing to show a desire and a work ethic to do exactly what people said we can't do, which is to get something out of a game we haven't deserved to. So I am really pleased with today. I wish we'd done the same against West Ham. I wish we'd done the same against Olympiacos, and it's only 2 points. But those 2 points would have been a significant difference to how our season's panning out.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the City result earlier in the day, it would have been great to get those extra 2 points. But it's like you said, it's one of them where maybe in a few weeks' time we'll look back at it and go, do you know what, that really was a big point. I totally agree with you, Clive. At the start I thought 2-1 win. I thought we were going to win, or maybe even 3-1. I thought we were going to have a good day because they're trying to play like a possession side, but they can't do it very well. I will admit, like they've got a lot better, and they're an upcoming force. They've got some good, young talent in there, and like you said, they do run. They half run at you, but at the end of the day, they are Spurs. So you can't. You always got to factor in they are Spurs, but
they are Spurs, and I just thought we played it wrong. Right?
Yeah.
We played it wrong. We turned it into a basketball game, and that's exactly what Spurs want, right?
Yeah.
So I'm disappointed we didn't recognise that quicker, but as soon as we got some energy on, and it didn't really matter what the names were on the back of the shirt, we just need someone to say, okay, we're going to have it with you and we're going to run with you. And we weren't able to do that because of the amount of games that these players have had to play. That is the only reason why they were in the picture. If we had the amount of games that they've played, but the amount of high pressure games that we've played, we're playing at a different level, right? We're playing in the Allianz, 60,000 people. Bayern Munich away, right? If you don't step it on, they're going to do you 10-0, right? So we've got to step, right? We've got to put the work in, and it cost us today, right? So it stopped us beating them. If we were playing carrier bag on a Wednesday night, then we would have jogged out there with some young players and we'd have had the energy today to take Spurs. We didn't quite have it. And that's what a season is, right? It's about managing these days and getting something from it, and we did, and I'm really pleased.
Yeah. Was there anything else anybody wanted to add before we go to listeners' questions, or?
Well, one thing I just wanted to kind of add to Clive's point, you could really tell, it's hard to read into what people are actually thinking, but if you look back at when Ryan Mason came on, you could see Lamella sitting on the bench in the background, and he just had that 1,000-yard stare in his eyes, like, man, we went out there and just gave it our all, and here we are 5 minutes after I've come off, or whatever it was,
and we're hanging on.
We're hanging on. Yeah, I think that was right after Gibbs scored, and he's like, and here we are, 1-1, it was a look of just, he looked shell-shocked.
Yeah, I will say it was valiant. It was valiant to get the point in the end. I guess that's the word. That's the best word I'll use. But anyway, going into listeners' questions and sort of more statements. Anyway, got one here from Eva, which is at Eva MCL3. She wrote, "Did I mention how much I love Gibbs and Flamini yet?" So you just have now. But fair play to them. They did well when they come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next,
they've been killing Spurs for us this year. So
yeah, I got really upset. I'll just quickly go off on a tangent here. In the it was in the second half, and I can't remember who the player was, but I think it was that Son or Song, whatever they call him. He fell over in the box, and the ball was coming down for Flamini. I thought he's going to hit this again, just like he did in the League Cup. And the ref blew the whistle for the tackle, it never was a tackle. He just fell over his own feet. And I got really gutted. I thought Flamini's going to absolutely smash one again. Do you remember that bit in the game, or?
Yeah, I vaguely remember.
Yeah, I thought he's gonna lever this, and then as the ball was sort of dropping again, the referee blew his whistle and he sort of drew back. I was like, I thought he was gonna do another Flamini special, but hey-o. But anyway, got a question here from at Finbar _McMahon. He always tweets in. He's a good guy, Finbar. He put, "Do you think Debuchy has any real future at Arsenal? Will we get rid of him in the summer?" Now, Clive, me and you have always had some ding-dongs over right-backs, left-backs, and Debuchy and some others in particular, so I'll let you fire away first, and then I'll pass it over to Judd.
See, I look at Debuchy, right, and I think, okay, you're a steady 29-year-old right-back. Your pace on the recovery is not great. It's decent. You're probably a step behind Sagna. And on the front foot, and your ability to do repeat runs is gone because you're not playing enough. But that doesn't bother me, right? What bothers me, when I look into his face, he looks broken-hearted. He looks like he's done. He generally looks like he's either been tapped up or he's just said, I didn't expect this. I can't win my place back. I'm done, right? And that's a problem for us because I've noticed it last couple of games. Forget the performances. I always look at the intent rather than the execution. I look at the intent to play. Kieran Gibbs has played the same amount of games as Debuchy, maybe a touch more minutes on the bench. When he comes on, his intent to perform is really positive, right? We have our opinions on him, and we can debate whether he's ahead of Monreal or not, although most of us think he's not. But when he comes on, he plays for the shirt, and he gives it everything, right? And I'm so pleased he got his reward today. When I watch Debuchy play, I don't care about the ability. It's your intent to play for the shirt, and I see a player that's sulking. I see a player that's broken-hearted. I see a player that's given up. And we need to think about that position, right? And I'd rather see, I don't care about Callum Chambers getting done by Montero at right back. I'd rather see him play there if a player's given up and we sell Debuchy in January so he can go and play for France, because I'm finding him a real issue, right? I don't think he's fit. I don't think he's working hard enough when he's not playing. I don't think he's trying to really get his place back. And sometimes players know, they train them every day, they listen to the body language, listen to what the coaches are saying, and we've got a very special player in Bellerin, and maybe Debuchy just knows that and thinks, you know what, I'm done here. It's over for me. Let me talk to my agent to get me out. And that's what it looks like. If you're playing with Bellerin every day in training, it can't be encouraging for you, because that kid is I'm trying to rack my brains, right, and think about another 20-year-old right back that's as good as him in the world today, and
Yeah.
there just isn't one, right? And in 2 years' time, we're going to struggle to keep him because
I think two's flattering. I think 2 years is flattering. Hopefully you see it out, but I think 2 years is flat. I'm really worried about when the big team comes in for him.
there's one team that we all know about, right, that can take him
Mm.
if they want to take him, well, more or less if he wants to go. And I've not heard any encouragement about him wanting to go, right? And why would he? If you think about it from a footballing point of view, from a sporting point of view, why is he going to go to a league where every other team apart from one that you play for is getting something like 5 times less revenue, which means there's no competition. You're jogging around most of the time, and your biggest games in the Champions League once it hits January and February, which really is not really a career if you're serious about sport. One thing the Premiership has is competition, right? And it has crowds and it has full stadiums. And that kid's been brought up here since he was 15, so there's a real chance we can keep him. But I'm looking at this. I look around the world. We all watch European football. We all watch BT and Sky.
Mm-hmm.
Just think it through, right? Think it through. I'm struggling to think of anyone better than him right now. You know, I just can't. And he's already peaking at 20, and then when he sorts it out defensively and he becomes more consistent in his own box, we're gonna have the Premier right back in world football right here. So Debuchy's suffering for that, and I think he's done. I'd much rather see Callum Chambers get on a track and start sprinting and start giving playing some minutes as right back late in games to make sure that we don't overplay Bellerin because he's only young. We mustn't overplay him and risk his groins and hamstrings. We mustn't do that. I'd much rather see that happen and then Jenkinson come back next year.
Mm.
And Debuchy for me, I said it to you, James, on my first pod, mate. I said we're going to sell him.
Yeah, you did.
And I think we will. I think it might happen in January.
Yeah, and Judd, do you agree, or do you want to chip
I forget what we were talking about. No. I mean, I don't want to try to nitpick and see get into his head and speculate on what's really going on. But I think another important thing to remember is he is now the wrong side of 30, and he's coming off a year last year where I think it was like a month into the season he breaks his leg and he's out until after the new year, and then he's back for I don't know what, like I don't even think it was a full month maybe. And then he messed up his shoulder, was it?
Yeah, was it Arnautovic or whatever from Stoke pushed him over?
Yeah. Pushed him into the ad boards on the end line, and then after that, when he comes back, I think maybe it was during his recovery, he started having some thigh problems, and I think they just shut him down for the rest of the season. So he's coming off of a season where he's played, I think like 10 games over the last 20 or 13, 14 months, and now he's fighting for his spot. And as somebody that's the wrong side of 30 and myself, your body just doesn't heal and recover like it used to. And like Clive was saying, he just doesn't have the fitness that he used to have, so he can't make those recovery runs like he used to. And I agree. Getting to the point, I agree that it probably is time that he's going to move on. January, summer, who knows? As to whether or not it's because he's given up, I don't know. I just don't know if he's capable, and we certainly do have a much better right back in Bellerin. So
yeah,
I think his days are numbered.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely going to want to get into that France squad for the Euros, and if you judge by the performances that he's doing at Arsenal, I don't know.
Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know who the other right backs for France are. I know, but I'm guessing Sangha probably still makes the squad at a push. I don't know, but
Sangha's playing, right?
Yeah.
And because Zabaleta's injured, Sangha is now playing for France, right? So Zabaleta has had a great year for injury, so that means Sangha's now playing for Man City, which means now he's got the legs to play for France.
Yeah.
Last year it was the reverse. Debuchy was playing, he played for France, and Sangha wasn't playing for City, so he's on the bench for France. So Debuchy thinking, I have to play, otherwise I'm going to miss a home tournament, which comes along once in your career, right? So he's done at Arsenal. It's not my opinion. It's just football, right? It's just football. If he wants to play for France, Or he does. He's done. He's jogging. He's looking after his legs. He's had an unbelievably unlucky time at Arsenal, as you
Yeah.
alluded to, Judd. Right? I mean,
We started so well. I
he
thought he looked brilliant when he come in. I'm like,
player,
this is great.
perfect
Yeah.
signing, 10 million quid, no issues with experience, and it was quite an interesting signing for Wenger. It sort of told us all that he's a lot more serious now about buying players. He's not like leaving kids in there. He took Jenkinson away. He's got a bit of a mistake in him. He took him away, and then and he brought in Debuchy. I'm thinking, hey, you're serious. You're deadly serious. And he started off very, very well, and just got injured, and he's just lost his legs. They could come back, but when they come back, are they ever going to be as good as Bellerin's? And at 30, they're just not going to be, right? So we got a decision to make, and for me, the fact that France are playing in the Euros, it sort of tells you what's going to happen, really.
All right, well, that's Debuchy well and truly covered, I think. Let's go to the next question, and it's from Akib Alias. Hopefully I got your name right. I should do. We've podded with him before, hopefully. I think I got the name right when we did the podcast. But he's put, does Sanchez deserve to be dropped when Ox, Theo and Ramsey come back? Now, this is an interesting question for me, because if he's as burnt out as he looked today, and if he does play these two friendlies or qualifiers, whoever it is, and he's knackered again, I would rather just chuck Ox or Ramsey out there and keep Joel Campbell in, because Joel Campbell, like I said, he's worked hard. So, but then again, he's probably going to play international, so he might be tired. What do you guys say? Because even when he's not 100%, we've seen even this year, he's still the best player on a pitch, even when he's like a 85, maybe even a 75. But you just don't want him to go, do you? That's the pain. If he gets a long-term injury, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's semantics, but, the way that he worded the question makes it sound a little bit negative, saying, does he deserve to be dropped? I don't know if if I would say he deserves to be dropped, because as you said, he is, one of the most talented players we have, but he certainly needs to be rested. That's the way I would phrase it. When they're healthy, I think that he needs, find a time where we don't have a midweek match, and you can line it up right where you can get him, 10, 15 days of rest consecutively, by just having him sit a game or two. And then, I think we'll see a new Sanchez come back after that. He needs some time to rest and recover.
Yeah, and what about yourself, Clive?
Yeah, I mean, freshness is a massively important in football, and the ability to recover, right? So, it's quite interesting today. I haven't seen the game yet. I'm going to go and watch it shortly. But Liverpool lost to Palace today, right? And he played quite a strong team in the midweek, and he's lost on a Sunday, right? So he's trying to build something. He's trying to build a pattern of play. He's trying to build some partnerships. And so he played a strong team, and then he suffered for it in a home game against Crystal Palace, right? So Alexis Sanchez, he against Manchester United, he reached his peak. He was the best player on the pitch. He came off towards the end of that game with a groin injury. I think Chile had to play Brazil. I can't remember who else they played, but he played both games 90 minutes, and he was like fantastic. And he's come back, and he hasn't performed in the same way, and he just hit a wall, right? So this is it now. Fergie needs to do a gig. Sorry, Wenger needs to do what Fergie used to do with gigs, right? And say, you're not going, right? Because this is where your bread's buttered, and I'm not sure what they got on, but I think it's a really important decision, because right now, I wish I sent a tweet out before the game, whisper it quietly, but we need a game from Sanchez today, and because you can't really criticise him online, right? So, but we're not idiots. We can all see it. We can all see that he's lagging. It's not because he can't play. He's just shattered. So what are we going to do? We're going to send him away again to go and become even more tired until he eventually breaks down. We got a decision to make, and hopefully the management can control it if they can. Because otherwise, we're really missing that side in the moment desperately. His penetration, his execution on the dribble, his decision making, his technique, his pretension on the dribble. It's just all gone, and all we're left with is a very hard working player that cares a lot. Right, which sometimes is enough, and today it was enough. But we know if Sanchez is hot, Spurs they're walking home with a defeat. So But that's the football. That's the season, and we're in a little bit of a dip with him. Just how we manage it, and hopefully Chile can rest him.
Yeah. And we've got a question here from Kevin, who's at just Nivek. He's put, do you think Campbell is starting to earn a starting spot? I've spoke quite highly of him today. I think, he's naturally left-footed. He's good cutting in on that right-hand side. He's one of the few players, Ramsey as well, when he plays there, I'll give him some props. And Chamberlain as well. They shoot. They have a shot from quite far out. They're not afraid to pull the trigger. So, I'm quite impressed with him. It's a nice little dilemma to have, I guess. And when he has come in, I think he's done all right. What about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly turned around. I think people's opinions have, changed a lot since the Sheffield Wednesday game because I think he was kind of absent during that. But, I mean, I guess everybody was. And he might have been one of the few, brighter spots. But, yeah, I think he'll still have problems once we're fully fit. I think, he probably won't be, one of the first 2 or 3 names off the team sheet, but yeah, he's done a pretty good job as he's been called upon.
And Clive?
I think I mean James has spoken before, right? But I went to watch Brazil versus Chile at Arsenal last year, and I saw Douglas Costa for the first time, and I told you all. I said we could do with that player. A lefty that plays on the right? And I think it's the player that we're missing. It's the Robin. It's that player that creates different angles. We use Ozil in that slot a lot, but a player that threatens a goal, that can use his right foot, but predominantly is a left footer that can come inside and shoot, and mirrors what Sanchez gives us on the left. A hard-working lefty that gets in on the back stick, that can post up like a centre forward. You know what? That player for Wenger is Joel Campbell. Now, being someone who just watches football, I saw Douglas Costa and I thought, oh, you're not bad. And suddenly now they're buying boy for £22 million, which seems really cheap, and he looks the best white man in the world at the moment, right? So that's how football goes. They wrapped him up early and they've got him. I look at Joel Campbell, I look at his attributes, and I think you've got exactly what we need. Do you have the penetration, the belief, the consistency to deliver at the top level? And I can't say he has, because he needs to do it over a period of time. But I look at his attributes and his competencies as a footballer. I think you're quick, you work hard, you can manipulate the ball in tight spaces, you can pass it, you can shoot early, you're comfortable and composed in the box. He's got a lot of good things going for him. He's not a starter yet because he just isn't, right? But he looks like an Arsenal player to me, and that's a great start, right? So it depends on what... And the manager speaks highly of him, and he watches him every day. So as far as I'm concerned, he'll do for me.
Yeah, that's fair assessment. And then the last question we got here from Fards20. He says, we haven't really seen this from Ozil, efficiently contributing when playing average. Now, I don't know if he means that's the team playing average or Ozil playing average. If he thinks it's Ozil playing average, then I'm sorry, Fards, but I don't know what you're on about. But I think he means the team, so I'll let him off there. But yeah, Ozil stepping up and finally seeing the fruits of his labour, which is good. What about the rest of you? This could be an Ozil love session if you want to profess.
Well, I've been saying since last year he's been he's the engine room of the squad, and I think sometimes what he actually has contributed to the end result is sometimes overlooked because it's not at that front line. He's not that one, that's putting away the chance, but he's often the one that's creating the chance, or he's putting somebody into a great opportunity to then put in a cross or make that, next pass. He really gets that midfield clicking offensively. He's, the puppet master of the midfield, and sometimes it gets, it's behind the curtain and you can't see it, but if you really look and pay attention, it's there to be seen.
And Clive?
Yeah, I said earlier, I'm not going to repeat myself, which I do have a tendency to do sometimes. If you're looking at it today, this is probably one of his best games when you look at the components of the team that weren't there. and then he decided, well, I'm here, and I'm gonna take us forward. And I always judge people in adversity, really, against the best teams or the moments where we're really weak, and see what they do. Those players who scored a fourth goal in the 91st minute. I'm not having them. I'm looking at the players that show up from 1-0 down in a North London derby when we are literally playing football with our front four walking back, leaving it to Coquelin to cover the whole midfield. And basically, who's going to step up? Who's going to step into these spaces and really fight this team? And I thought he was tremendous today. And I'm sure once I get a chance to watch the game, I watched the second half twice already. When I get a chance to look at it more closely and really sort of analyse it, I'm sure I'm going to feel the same. And I'm sure it's going to come out in the papers next couple of days. And if it doesn't, it should do, because I thought he really showed up today, for sure.
Yeah, I've seen already some, I don't know what journalist it was or what paper it's from, but they've given Ozil like a 5 and said that he was average at best, and then they've given like Dele Alli an 8.5 or a 9 or something, saying how amazing he was and all this. And I think a lot of people are saying that if you're English and you just run about a lot, it makes out that you're an 8.5 or a 9. But you can chuck me out there with all my problems and my body, and if you pay me 60 to 100 grand a week, I'll run around and probably get an 8 or a 9. So yeah.
Well, I wonder what team's press box he was sitting in during
definitely
when he wrote that article.
Definitely. I don't even know what journalist it was. I just saw it on the old. Could be one of these Twitter journalists, but at the same time, I'm just like, for fuck's sake, It seems that Ozil
destroying your own credibility.
Yeah, well, it just seems like he could score like 10 goals in one game and he'll get a 5 because he should have had 11 or something.
Yeah.
So it's a real issue, actually. It's a real issue about how uneducated our press are when it comes to watching the game, assessing the game, and delivering the message to the watching public, right? Because you've just got to look at it and say, Dele Alli's a really good player. I mean, I live only 20 miles from Milton Keynes, and I know all about him, and he's come up through the ranks, and everyone known about him for the last 2-3 years. He's a strong running Jermaine Jennings centre midfielder, 6'1", 6'2", at 18, 19. He's a great athlete, and he's got a great future, right? He's not going to change the world, right? He's not going to be able to do what Ozil done in the World Cup final anytime soon, or what Ozil did at 20 in the under-21 European Championships and what he did to the England team in that game. He's a really decent player with a really good future. But he's not Mesut Ozil. We need to look at what we're watching and educate ourselves and understand that football has moved beyond knobby styles. It's moved beyond rolling up your sleeves. It's a part of the game, right? It's a huge part of the game. Athleticism, tracking, tackling, driving, the Steven Gerrard, Royal Rovers players. There's another game out there. There's an intelligence game. People run into space, people cut against the grain, people start the triangle passes, the zigzags, the movement. There's different games, and we need to produce more players like Ozil. And that is what we need to be doing. We need to be learning from these players, not downgrading them and admonishing them. Football is not about the Robbie Savages, although what a great career he had, by the way, and that's a bit topical, right? People laugh at Robbie Savage.
Hey, on his day, he was world class.
Hey, last time I looked, right, he's got a golf course in his back garden. He's got a 9-hole golf course in his back garden, and I haven't. So I'm not going to criticise him, right? Because he's made his money and he's on telly and TV every other week. And you know what? Fair play to him. He's maximised his career, right? He got rejected from Manchester United and he came back and he made himself a player, right? So there are different types of players, right? But let's not kill them. Let's look and learn and see how they make it, see how they produce, see how they prepare, and try and educate ourselves, And to do, anyone who watched that game today know that Mesut Ozil was critical to how we played, and Dele Alli was equally critical to how Spurs play. But let's not put one further down than the other. That's my opinion, really.
Yeah, that's a good way to wrap the podcast up. So I'll say thank you to you, Judd. Stumbling over my words there.
Yeah, and I want to apologize for any strange background noises you guys might have heard. I got a 4-month-old pup here that needs to be chewing on things all the time. So
No worries. And I'll say thank you to you as well, Clive. With a bad voice, you still gave you a 10 out of 10 performance as always.
I had more to say, but I don't want to bore people. Right?
I know you'll never bore me. We can talk.
you didn't get it all out.
I got a lot out, and I'm going to be tweeting a lot more. Right? You wait till tomorrow morning on the way to work. You lot better watch.
Well, thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure talking, guys.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you so much. It's I know it's like late notice and. It's all good that you all joined in. But thanks everyone for listening. We've got the iTunes, which you can subscribe to. We've got the RSS feed, which you can subscribe to. We're on SoundCloud. We got the Twitter. We got Instagram. I've got a Tinder profile. I don't know about the podcast. Probably has one. We're pretty much on everything. We've got all your bases covered. So, just keep listening and keep watching. And during the international break, if you check the website, I'm sure we'll have a few blogs up. I know we do the old player ratings. Just basically pretty much anything Arsenal, we've probably got it, apart from video content. We just mainly audio, but hey-oh, it's all fun. So thanks again for listening, guys, and take care.